Welcome back to the Voices Speak Forever podcast. I'm your host, Hepburn, and today we hear Ecstatic Barnacle 787's grief story of her cat, Sooty. I am 15 and will be 16 in 3 days, and not sure how to cope with this. My dad died when I was 11 due to liver failure and a bad heart due to obesity. After he passed away, me and my family received his cat, Sooty. Sooty had been my baby for years. Sooty was an inbred black domestic shorthair who was friendly towards everyone but was overall grumpy. I had noticed Sooty was getting less like herself, yet thought nothing of it. 2 days before she passed away, she wasn't eating, so we narrowed it down to the heat and bathed her. We brought her out of the bath and dried her, and I tried feeding her some cooked chicken, and she would only take a few bites of it. Keep in mind, she was a very food motivated animal. I stood her up and she wasn't walking as well as she could, and her gums were pale. We phoned every vet in our area, and none could see her until the following day. Still worried, I couldn't eat or talk to anyone very much. Me and my fiance both had a cuddle with Sooty, and then everyone went to bed while Sooty slept on my mom's bed in a little ball. We woke up the next morning and she was still in the same spot and looked even worse than she already had. We waited for everyone to wake up properly and phoned the vets who said they would see her the same day. We took Sodi into the vet and they said they wouldn't see her without us paying them £50 just for a simple checkup. We didn't have that money as I've been brought up not very well off. After the vets told us that, I took her back home and my mom went to my grams and made some phone calls. She went an hour away to get £200 off her partner. We took Sodi back to the vet at around 4 p.m., and they explained that she needed to be euthanized as she could not walk and was very skinny. As the vet was weighing her, she peed herself and was meowing at the top of her lungs in absolute agony at every touch to her body. I stood and comforted her, trying to stay strong for my mom. My mom, myself, and the vet agreed that she could come home so my younger 12-year-old sister and the rest of the family could all say goodbye to her. After we got back home and my mom left to pick up my little sister from school, I broke down, crying at the top of my lungs, begging her and the Lord to make her stay and get better. I brought Sooty out of her pet carrier and onto a blanket on my mom's bed. As I sat there and sobbed, my whole body went cold as ice. And yet, I was in a boiling hot room. I felt as if I was dying. As I lifted Sooty onto the bed, she cried out in pain. Soon after, I calmed down slightly and I went to wake my fiance up to come see her and say goodbye. We sat there for a good 10 minutes or so and stroked her fur while tears streamed down my face, and I kept telling her everything would be okay and that I loved her as she was my sweet angel girl. I picked Sodi up and placed her in my lap while still holding her in my arms. About not even 30 seconds later, she started to have a seizure in my arms, and then, when she came out of it, her stomach eventually stopped moving, and I just held her and cried. It felt like the world had stopped. I soon after let my fiance hold her and say goodbye while I texted my mom. Sodi is gone. I put the phone down and sobbed. I took Sooty back in my arms and got my fiance to grab our other cat, Ash, to see Sooty so she knew what happened and to give her peace of mind. After my mom got home with my sister, I laid her on the bed and let my mom and sister say their goodbyes as I grabbed one of my dad's t shirts to wrap her up in. We wrapped her up in the shirt and I placed her cold, lifeless body on the coffee table. After I calmed down a little, I grabbed scissors and cut some of her fur off and put it in a box that one of my nose studs came in, and then took her collar off and placed it around my wrist. My mom then called the pet shop so they could freeze her body until we could afford to cremate her. Me, my fiance, and my little sister walked down to the pet shop with her wrapped in the shirt still in the pet carrier. As I looked in, all I could see was her big, beautiful green eyes and her mouth wide open with dribble coming out. We all walked upstairs to the vet. The lady there said, "Who's this little one then?" And I explained that she was deceased. While fumbling my words, she said, "Go sit down for a minute and someone will come collect her." As we waited in anticipation for her to be collected, my fiance hugged me tight while I sat Sooty on a table next to me. Someone finally came and collected her body. We said thanks and walked downstairs to buy my younger cat some treats and toys, and we all walked home. It is now 4 days after she passed, and we're collecting her ashes tomorrow. R.I.P., my angel girl.